If you're a doctor, you already understand the healthcare system better than most VCs ever will. The question is, what if you use that insight to help build the future of it?
I've seen more change in the last couple of years in the way that general practice is practiced than I have in the last 15 years. With virtual care, the AI scribes, the agentic AI, like I'm watching the clinical decision support systems, I'm like, this looks different. Whereas the first 15 years of practicing, nothing really changed. It's exciting but scary, which is why we need to be in the game. And clinicians need to be in the game. So whether it's providing support to startups and technology companies or whether it's providing capital, I think we do need to be at the table because we can help influence what gets built that's going to shape us.
In this episode of Investing for Doctors, I sit down again with Dr Amandeep Hansra, GP, digital health leader and co-founder of Australian Medical Angel, Australia's largest clinician-led angel syndicate. We unpack how doctors are backing the next generation of healthcare startups, why clinicians are uniquely positioned to invest into healthcare, and how Medical Angels is helping everyday doctors access deal flow, de-risk early investments, and fund innovations they wish they already existed in their own clinics. The journey that we've been on at Medical Angels investing in healthcare startups has been an incredible one. I think we're the number 2 investor in healthcare. I hope with our fund we'll be number 1.
Yes, if we can move fast enough, I think there's definitely enough companies out there. Australians are doing great at innovating in healthcare. We've just got to be agile enough to capture all of the great deals and make sure that we've got some great investors along on the journey as well.
If you ever wanted to shape healthcare from the outside in, not just as a clinician, but as a builder and investor, this episode is your blueprint. Now let's dive in. Hi, welcome back to another episode of the Investing for Doctors podcast. I'm your host, Dr. B, and I've got Dr. Amandeep Hansra back with me again today. Welcome back, Amandeep.
Thanks for having me, B.
All right, so in our previous episode, we talked about how to explore careers outside of the traditional medicine. And I think one of the things that we haven't really mentioned is that how we ended up with our respective creative careers. So, yeah?
Yes. Are you talking specifically about Medical Angels?
Yes, that's correct. And which is, for those that don't know, Medical Angels is angel investing sort of syndicate. And what an angel investor is someone who really invests in a startup company at the very first point of entry. And, we're often considered angels because at that stage, they're like angels to the company in a way. And we've been doing this for, nearly 7 years now, I think. And it's been such an incredible and fulfilling journey. And I'm looking forward to a lot of conversation about Medical Angels and how we got to where we are today. So I think we should probably talk about our little creative sort of careers journey. And because as I alluded to earlier, we work together at Medical Angels. I still recall you writing a very lovely post about that on our website, sort of how we got to know each other and how we got this Medical Angels thing going on. So,
well, I think it's...
Look back on that.
It's crazy now because I have to thank Facebook, and this podcast is not sponsored by Facebook, but Facebook was really the reason we found each other. I think I saw you posting a lot on, having quite vocal views on all sorts of things, from home visiting doctors to innovation stuff. Yeah. And I just remember, he sounds so cool. I was like, I've got to meet him. And so I reached out and we had coffee. And I remember, I think it was was it Centennial Park? Where did we have? No,
the first one's in Redfern.
In Rosebery.
Is it Rosebery?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Rosebery. Yeah.
Met in Rosebery. And I remember just having a chat, and we were just brainstorming things. And I knew that you had Investing for Doctors, and I was really interested in supporting startups and entrepreneurs. And it was sort of the merging of those two things where...
The two themes, right? Yeah.
You had all the doctors that wanted to invest. I had a lot of the startup founders that wanted money, and we were like, well, we could just put this together. And I remember thinking at the time, I don't know how feasible this is because neither one of us really knows about angel investing that much, but we can learn. And we sort of went away with that idea. And sometimes I go back and look at the chats that we had. Like, it takes ages to load because we've chatted a lot over the last, 6 years. But and I go back and have a look at our initial discussions, we moved pretty quickly. We were just like, okay, we've decided. And I think that's the danger with you and I, is because we're both just like action people.
Yeah.
And we sometimes just jump into things without necessarily like thinking them through. But if we thought them through, I think we would talk ourselves.
Like, that's a terrible idea.
Yeah, we would have talked ourselves out of it, I think.
Yeah,
I think we would have, if we spent too much time planning, I feel like that actually would have taken some of the wind out of the momentum. But because we were just like, how hard can it be? We'll just create a Facebook page and start telling people about startups they can invest in. And, you know, you should tell the story about how the first one where you were asking people, random people to transfer money.
It's hilarious, right? This is from my recollection of events. On Investing for Doctor, I created basically a post saying, hey, we're going to try and do these things. You know, it's so hard to invest in a startup as an individual investor because you need to front up, I don't know, $50,000, $100,000. Wouldn't it be a great idea if we just had 10 doctors that would each put in $5,000 and then you have a check for a startup?
Yeah.
And so I created this Facebook group, linked it onto Investing for Doctors. And I remember in one of the very original posts, I wrote that I can't guarantee I'm going to make you rich, but I can guarantee that some of these companies will fail.
Yeah.
But I can definitely guarantee you that it's going to be a fun journey.
Yes.
And like it's been a remarkable journey. And I still recall our very first company that we invested in was actually a mobile application that could detect stress. And I think they're now in like multiple countries and doing pretty well. But one of the things that I recall very vividly was the way we set it up. We just say, hey, you know, this is the bank account.
Just transfer some money
over, and you know, if you receive the money, you put your name on it. I will assume that you agree to doing this investment, which was a very almost amateurish and perhaps something grey legally to do back then. But you know, that's how we started off, and we actually got quite a number of people in that first.
It was crazy how many people are willing to transfer large amounts of money into a random bank account of someone they met online. Yeah. And luckily we were using our actual names.
Yeah. And I remember someone say, oh, you know, you've been talking about this stuff for years. We've been following your content. Yeah. You must be a real person.
Yeah. They just assume you're real. But I mean, we didn't even share our APRA numbers. I think we just kind of assumed people would like look us up if they needed to.
Exactly. And I think one guy actually commented, Michael is his name. He commented, "It's like, oh, this is either the start of the greatest idea ever or a total scam." But too late now.
Yeah, he just transferred the money. But I just remember that first deal and watching all these people just pull that money together, like watching something that you have an idea might work,
come to fruition,
actually work is crazy. But I don't think I really thought about it working until we had an exit, because until that point you've just taken people's money, right? Yeah. But you haven't actually shown them that you're going to give them a return or even given them back their money. Yeah. And so I think the moment that we had the return was like such a great moment in the journey of Medical Angels, because it was like it's
come full circle.
Yeah, this concept, this idea that we had, we actually proved it out, and I hope we prove it out with every other company too. But it just felt like that was, quite early as well. Like we thought that it might be 10 years before we started to see some of this. But it was so fantastic to see that.
Yeah. Oh, one of the other things I said, you're not going to see this money for at least 8 years. That's what I said. I think I remember putting that into words. And, the company we exited recently, we've only been in it for a little over 3 years.
Yeah, which is crazy. That's why it was not one of the ones I expected. I think the sad part for me, though, which no one had ever really taught me about, and I'd spent a bit of time working in venture capital, is that you get really sad when you lose a company. Like when they go and they exit, it's like your children moving out.
I know.
I keep wanting to call them and saying, can we still hang out? Even though I'm not an investor. We still hang out with them, but like you become friends. But yeah, it is something, you know, kind of bittersweet because you really enjoyed working with them. But at the same time, it's great that they've gone into the world and been acquired by someone else. But you know, it makes me think when we were reflecting back on that particular company, how hard it was to get other investors excited about what they were doing. And we were excited.
We were so excited. I mean, I was so excited because I think I saw beyond a service provision business into a tech business, into a software business, which they've indeed, you know, proven some of those things out.
But it goes to show also that if you didn't have the type of investors that we were, you know, with a health background and an understanding of where they can play in the health system, how do these companies get investment? Because most of the other investors have very little like health system knowledge.
Yes.
So it makes me think that, you know, there might have been lots of companies before we were around that had we been around could have been successful because we understood the problem they were solving. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think it's a very sombering thought. And I guess that's why we're trying to make what we're doing become bigger and more efficient.
And why you need it so badly, because I think a lot of the companies that we support are ones that couldn't get capital elsewhere, not because they're not great ideas, but it's because people don't understand it, what they do.
Yeah, because I think the traditional venture capital sort of playbook is that, you know, they're all very software driven. They're very
it's about massive scaling. It's about getting a unicorn.
Exactly. And the idea that you can buy market share with capital. So you burn capital to grow.
Yeah.
And, you know, you and I both know that that doesn't really work in healthcare.
In healthcare, if you grow that fast, you break things. And when you break things, you hurt people.
Exactly.
Yeah. You can't do this whole like, you know, massive sort of
You can't do the Uber, spend money to get a hockey stick and then we'll think about the legalities of it
later.
Afterwards.
Exactly. Because, you know, it's a very regulated environment. You can't get away with that. So I just think that any company in the healthcare space that is scaling that rapidly, you have to think about, are they doing it safely and is quality being affected? Because there's just no margin for error.
Yeah. Again, that comes to if you screw up, some people may die. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
High risk.
Yeah, exactly. So now, like, let's talk about what we're doing in this space. And I think it's I'm going to use this opportunity to announce the fact that we are building our very first venture fund.
Yes, that's very exciting. Well, it feels like it's old news because it's been talked about ad nauseum. Over a year now. But to finally get some of those first, you know, hurdles overcome is really exciting. And I think, you know, the reason why I think this needs to happen is that the amount of companies coming to us like pipeline is crazy.
It's incredible.
And we just can't move fast enough.
We worked as a syndicate. You know, we just can't work fast enough as a syndicate. And
you need to be able to make those decisions quickly and have access to capital quickly and be able to control that sort of process a lot better. And so it doesn't have to be a massive fund. It just has to be one that
agile.
That's agile, that's responsive and can keep supporting the amount of companies that we've been supporting. Because at this time, I think also is a really exciting time for healthcare innovation, particularly with AI coming in.
Absolutely.
We're seeing so much accelerated development of technology because of AI, and we want to be on that train and make sure that Australia is known for, you know, pumping out great healthcare innovation. And to do that, we need to be able to support them with capital.
Look, we've made a business out of investing in great founders.
Exactly.
So, and I think the journey that we've been on at Medical Angels, investing in healthcare startups, has been an incredible one. You know, especially some of the clinician founders, and also, you know, kudos to the non-clinician founders who then engage with clinicians appropriately, and you know, they create some remarkable businesses.
I think as long as they have awareness that they may not have all the answers because they haven't been in that environment, but they'll find people who do, I think the dangerous founders are the ones that go, I'll come and do something in healthcare, but I don't need to talk to a single person that works in healthcare.
I remember seeing one of those particular situations where someone was describing how they were sitting in a GP office and, the experience is horrible. I had to wait for 20 minutes. Here, I'm going to make this startup where you get rid of that problem and then we'll change primary care and we get rid of all GPs.
Oh, yeah.
Hallelujah.
Somebody said, I'll get rid of
that?
GPs. I remember that one.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, have they done any due diligence on who you and I are to say to us, we're going to get rid of your jobs?
I heard a silent chuckle at that one.
Yeah. I mean, we've had some crazy pictures, I have to say. I've read times where I'm like, I have to turn the camera off because I need to go and laugh. Yes.
Yeah.
But I mean, look, you get all sorts, but it helps weed out the ones you really want to invest in, right?
Yeah.
The ones who have respect for the health. They may not be a healthcare professional themselves, but they understand that there's a lot that they don't know.
Yeah. And I think one of the our key sort of strengths is allowing the founders to identify their unknown, helping the founders find their unknown unknowns.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so that they can actually not do the wrong thing and
fill the gap. You know, a lot. It's a team sport. There's no one person that is going to be able to do everything well that you need for a founding team. You're going to have to go, well, I'm weak in this area, so I'll bring those people, skill set in. And I think the people who recognize that early are the successful ones.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's about finding the right co-founders. And I think amongst the companies that we've invested in, the best ones are the ones that is made by a very business savvy founder coupled with
someone with clinical knowledge.
With deep clinical knowledge of the system and is open to realizing that they may not know, and both of them need to realize that they may not know all the answers and are keen to seek out the answers through the people they trust.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I've realized, how many companies have we now invested in?
Over nearly 3 dozen.
Yeah. So when you think about, all of those companies, I've realized that the common thread for the ones that are really successful is that we really believed in the person, the founders, the team. It's like a people game at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, the products change, and they have done, right? Sometimes we've invested in something that was, something completely different before, and then it's pivoted and it's evolved.
Yeah.
But the people, the founders, have stayed the same, and I feel like I've never made really the wrong decision if I've gone with how do I feel about the person, because remember there's people that we've had pitched to us and we just get this gut feeling that there's someone we don't want to work with, and it doesn't matter how good and amazing the product looks, we're like, but working with them would be a nightmare. And people say that getting out of a founder investor relationship is harder than getting out of a marriage these days. Be together for 10 years and you can't really get out because you put your money in. You have to be really selective about who you want to spend those 10 years with. And
absolutely.
I think, the ones that are coachable, the ones that have self-awareness, have insight, willing to be team players, respect healthcare practitioners. There's all these things that I've realized that run in common with the ones that are successful.
And I think one of the things, as you mentioned, is that if we are having troubles with them and we want to put money into them, how are they going to
what is the customer experience
with a customer that's a doctor that they are trying to get the money out of? I mean, the relationship's the other way around, right? And if you're not even maintaining this relationship properly, how do you maintain that relationship?
Oh, absolutely. And the way that they do one thing is the way that they do everything. So, if they don't interact well with you, it means that they potentially can do that with customers or with staff or any other stakeholders. And there are so many companies for us to invest in that it makes it easy to say, they give you an out to say no to them, because we know that in Australia, it's particularly hard to find capital for healthcare companies.
Startups. I guess that's one of the problems we're trying to solve.
Well, we're trying to solve it. So I think people don't do themselves any favor though when they sort of come in and, we have some of those difficult initial conversations where they feel like they know all the answers, and you get those people that are like, I know this industry and I know people are going to buy this, and you might kind of try to offer some constructive advice and they're just like, no, we're not listening
rubbish.
to you.
I've had that more than a few times.
Yeah,
it's like, oh no, that's rubbish. We can sell to GPs. I was like, have you tried selling anything to GPs?
I know. And as much as I love it, when people come to you and they have a real social kind of drive and they say, I want to cure this disease, and you love them for it, but you also realize the product has no business model and no one's going to pay for it. And you feel awful saying, it's great that you want to solve that disease, but the reality of it is that nobody's going to pay for that product and it's not sustainable. And it's not that we don't care about the end outcomes. We absolutely care. Everything we do at Medical Angels has got to be driven by, it's got to benefit patients or healthcare practitioners in some way. But we've also got to be realistic about what can work in the funding system, in the regulatory environment, in the practical world of healthcare delivery. So a lot of things are just impractical when people say, oh, they just need to log into this extra portal, and you're like, do you know how many logins? Yes. Yeah. Or you can just take all of your wearable data to your GP through this special app, and it's like, the GP does not want to see the wearable data. I'm sorry. They want some insights from it. But yeah, it's all of those things that is, I guess helps us suss out, who we want to work with and who we want to invest in.
Yeah, absolutely. And, because this is a podcast, we can't really talk too much about the details of the fund, but if people are interested, they can, go into the link, sign up to the space, and
just go to the website and they can express interest and then get the information when it comes available. But it's definitely an exciting opportunity to be involved in a sector that is only growing.
Yeah, absolutely. And, before we finish off, what sort of really excites you about the sector, I guess? You mentioned AI, but what else? What else are you looking forward to investing in?
Look, I think, what AI is doing, it's not necessarily the AI itself, but it's making us reimagine sort of workflows and the ways that we've always done things. And it's really taking, I guess, some of the responsibilities that you and I would have had as a clinician and moving them to an area where technology can do those tasks, and what that frees us up to do is going to be really interesting. So I like the application of AI in healthcare, but I think it also opens so many other doors in terms of whether it's accelerated drug development, whether it's what it can do in the genomic space, what we can do with precision medicine, what we can do with big data and
computer vision.
Computer vision. Like, you sort of start to think about all of those applications. And when you're combining technologies, I think that's when it gets really exciting. Yeah. So it's not necessarily the AI on its own, but I think it's AI as an enabler into all of these other areas. And just the speed at which that's happening is really exciting. So I'm kind of optimistic that some of the big pain points we talked about earlier in terms of the system, sort of buckling under pressure and the demands and things, demographic, we can probably solve a lot of that. I look at some of the products that I get to work with on a day-to-day basis. I sit on the board of MoleMap, and we have an AI tool called Kahu, which helps us detect melanoma and, has very high sensitivity and specificity compared to human dermatologists. And I start to think about, some of the...
scaling that up.
Yeah, the ability to take some of the workload off. And we're always going to need the doctors and the clinicians, but starting to be able to use these tools is really going to make, I think, the healthcare system more efficient.
Yeah, and scaling up the clinician, which has always been the problem in healthcare delivery. That's
right, because you're limited by, the manual kind of labor that you can do and expand, and then suddenly you're able to offer a lot more to a lot more people, and also the things that you should be doing kind of get targeted to you.
And I think to ask myself the same question, I am really interested in the increasing personalization of medicine, because every individual, as you know, is slightly different based on their genomics, their makeup, their environments, their history, their existing profile. And historically, we treated every human being as if they were a single, similar human being across the spectrum. And, until even recently, clinical trials didn't even include females, for instance. So we treated everyone as if they were a middle-aged white man.
100%.
And obviously that's not the case, because you have genetic variations in geographies or like, in Asian population. The trials just don't apply,
Yeah, they're not generalizable. And I think it's, definitely interesting seeing also the capture of real world data. So before that we were focused on clinical trials.
Very sanitized data.
Whereas now that you've got access to what actually happens in the real world when you take this drug, not in a trial scenario. And I think, you're right, absolutely, with the precision medicine. When I think about, a lot of my nearly 20 years of practice has been guided by, I'd look at therapeutic guidelines and say, what's the first line treatment?
Yeah.
But that was for every single person. The first line treatment was the same.
Yeah.
I never really except sometimes it would say if the person's pregnant, they can't have that, then give them, or if they're a child.
Yeah.
But there was never any ability to plug in the pharmacogenomics or to plug in, the data that you've captured about them or their environmental factors or their genetic, ethnic makeup. And so to be able to do that in the future, I mean, they're doing that now with, cancer dosing of drugs and picking the right chemotherapy agents. But imagine if that was the case for everything we did, was that it was highly targeted and highly personalized for you, and the outcomes that we could achieve, I think. And in terms of efficiency too, because you're wasting all these drugs. You're giving, 50% of antidepressants that you give patients actually don't work. Yeah. So all those drugs are being wasted. Those people are becoming more unwell. You're wasting clinicians' time.
And there's lost opportunities for people to improve and to engage, because
exactly.
if you're started on the wrong antidepressant and you have a really bad experience from it, you might not want to try the next one. You might never go back.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think that then being able to use our limited resources in the right way first time, we're going to be able to do that with all of this new technology.
So exciting,
available.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's never been a more exciting time to be a clinician, but also a more scary time as well.
It's also scary because I just don't know what my job's going to look like, I've seen more change in the last couple of years in the way that general practice is practiced than I have in the last 15 years, with virtual care, the AI scribes, the agentic AI, like I'm watching the clinical decision support systems. I'm like, this looks different. Whereas for the first 15 years of practicing, nothing really changed. Yeah.
Exciting but scary.
It's exciting but scary, which is why we need to be in the game and clinicians need to be in the game. So, whether it's providing support to startups and technology companies or whether it's providing capital, I think we do need to be at the table because we can help influence what gets built that's going to shape us, the environments that we work in.
Yeah. And one of my goals with the fund is, currently I think we're the number 2 investor in healthcare.
We're second largest by a number of companies.
And I hope with our fund we'll be number 1.
Yes, let's hope. If we can move fast enough, I think there's definitely enough companies out there. Australians are doing great at innovating in healthcare. We've just got to be agile enough to, capture all of the great deals and make sure that we've got some great investors along on the journey as well.
All right.
Yeah.
With that, let's end here.
Great chatting to you. Thanks, B.
This podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. The information and opinions shared are not intended as personal financial advice. The content presented should not be relied upon for making financial, investment, or other decisions. Listeners are strongly encouraged to seek the advice of qualified financial or legal professionals before making any financial decisions. While we aim to provide valuable and accurate information, we make no guarantees regarding the completeness or accuracy of the content. Any reliance on the information provided is done at your own risk.